Hello there. In this video I'm going to talk you through working with tessellated designs in FluidDesigner for 3D printing to create pendant lampshades similar to the ones in the top right hand corner there. So if we go to FluidDesigner, if we go to the object library, the folders that we're talking about are these ones here on the left. These ones are all labelled square. So if I select the first one, now what we've got here, the middle 6 objects are actually all pendant lamps. The icons on the left hand side and the right hand side show you the patterns that are applied to these lampshades. So we've got a triangular lampshade here, a square lampshade, pentagonal, hexagonal, octagonal and decagonal. So I'm going to use this square one with this pattern on the left, and we do that by clicking OK. And if I just switch off the grid floor, and now the first thing that we want to do is perhaps look at the size and then also maybe the thickness of this lamp. So what I would do is to go to Object Library, go to Light Bulbs, and you need to consider the size of the bulb that you're looking to actually put into this lampshade. Now in this example I'm going to do E27 candle filament bulb and click OK, and then what we can do is to just sort of position that there. Now if I want to resize this, what I would do is to press the tab key, or let me just open up the start screencast keys for you. If I press the tab key on the keyboard and press the A key on the keyboard to select all of the vertices there, if we now scale and click and then press A on the keyboard to deselect all the vertices and the tab key to come out of edit mode, I would also do Control A and apply the scale, and just from the point of view of 3D printing, just resets the vectors. Now that might look a little bit too long at the moment, but I'm actually going to modify that later. Okay, so I've resized it there. Now if I open up the properties panel with N on the keyboard and go to modifiers, all of these square designs, all of these tessellated designs have got the same default thickness of 2mm. So if you zoom in on this, the thickness of the shell there is 2mm. Now you could change that down to 1mm, which will use a lot less material and it'll still be okay. If you're happy with the size and the thickness of that, what you do is apply this modifier. That will confirm the modifier there, and then you can close down the properties panel a second. Alright, now what we can now do is we can either move that out of the way or just X on the keyboard to delete it, because we know the rough size of it now. But we want to put a hole in the top of this. And we can put a hole in the top by going to Object Library and selecting one of these cutting tools. Now I'm going to use a cutting diameter of 8mm, so click OK, click outside, and that will position it there, and we need to just pull that cutting tool up so it just fits through the top there. Now the way that we do this is we highlight the pendant lamp, N on the keyboard to open up the modifiers, and we're going to use what's called a Boolean modifier, and we do what's called the difference between the pendant lamp and the cutting tool. So the cutting tool must be selected in this panel over here. So you must have the lampshade selected first. Now I know, having tried this before, that in this instance this one won't work. We'll have some problems with the hole afterwards. Now sometimes you can do this and it'll work fine the first time you do it, no problem. Sometimes you get slight errors in the hole at the top, and that's what I know will happen in this instance. So what we have to do, you don't always have to do this, but what we have to do in this instance is highlighting the pendant lamp. So in other words, let's just delete the modifier for the moment. If we press the tab key on the keyboard to go into edit mode, and if we switch to visible to see right through the whole object, and what we want to do is C on the keyboard and just highlight all of those vertices at the top there. Alright, and if we do hold down the Control key and press F, and if we do what's called poke faces, you can see what that's done is created some extra edges and a new vertices at the center at the top there. And you don't always have to do that, but in some instances you do. So if I just press A on the keyboard to deselect that and come out of edit mode, right, so if I, with the pendant lamp selected, if I now go to Boolean modifier and do the difference between the pendant lamp and the cutter diameter, and then if I click apply the modifier and then click on the cutting tool and then X and delete it, you can see I've got a hole at the top. Now I would have got a hole at the top without doing that little poke sequence, but I know that when I run it through Netfab I would have had problems. Now if I select the main information icon there, if I just highlight the name and do Control C to copy it to the clipboard, what I'm going to do now is to go to File and export this as a wavefront object to the desktop, and I'm going to save it with the name Pendant Square Pattern. What I want to do now is to run it through Netfab. So I go to Project and New, Project and Open, and open up this pendant lamp. Now you can see that there's some issues here, and if I run the repair procedure and click Update and Automatic Repair and Execute and then Update, notice everything gets set back to 0, and if I apply the repair and remove the old part, everything is fine. Now if I hadn't done that poke sequence on the top, you would have found that there's a slight error at the top here. Not major, but it wouldn't have been as clean as that. Sometimes it's clean, sometimes not. So you just have to try it and see. So if I go to Part and export the wavefront object and just save it again with the same file name, I know that that's now a 3D printable object. So if I go back to FluidDesigner and go to File and Import, and if I import the one that I've just repaired there in Netfab Basic, that's okay, and now I've got my hole in the top. So I've resized it, set my thickness, and I've got the hole in the top now. Now at this stage what you could do, if we just put a light bulb back in again, you just see what it looks like, that's all. Okay, so at this point what you could do is to make some modifications to the style of this. So if I go to View and Front View, now it's very important, I'll just switch off front view. It's very important that when we go into edit mode here, that we can actually select all the vertices at the back. So you do need to click this icon at the top here so that you can see through all of the object, because you need to select the front and the back here. So A on the keyboard to deselect all of those control points, view it from the front. So what I'm going to do is to do B for box select, select the control points up to the middle there. Now as I say, I'm going to stretch this out so that it fits below my bulb, and then I'm also A on the keyboard to deselect those control points and B to border select, and I'm just going to select that region there, and I'm going to switch on proportional editing, and I'm going to do S to scale, and just dragging the center mouse button to enable the proportional editing. So you can see I've just changed the appearance of that, and I could do the same at the bottom. So I could go to View and Front View, go into Edit Mode, B for Border Select, make sure all the control points are highlighted, and scale, and I could move the bottom in there, but you do need to ensure that the bulb will still go in and out. So that's how you can modify the style at the end there. And at this stage you can export that as an OBJ file again. I would again run it through Netfab Basic. Only takes a few seconds to do that, and then you've got your file ready for 3D printing. So one of the key things to understand is the hole at the top doesn't always work 100% every time. Sometimes you have to poke, as shown in this video. Alright, so that's how you can work with these tessellated objects in FluidDesigner. Thank you for watching.